Thank you for tuning in to Mocha Speaks. It's time for a real conversation. Speak your mind, speak your truth.
What's up, everybody? This is your girl, Mocha Jasmine Johnson, and I'm back. Woo-wee! If y'all missed Juneteenth this Saturday at Georgia Square Mall, I'm talking about the one at Georgia Square Mall. Let's be clear. It was the best. We had young folks, we had older folks. It was mixed. We had the libation ceremony, African drumming and dancing, and one of the best experiences when I looked at the crowd and everybody was moving the same way to the African drum and rhythm. We even had the first Black mayor show up, and he was on stage with me busting a move. I was like, what you doing, Dexter? But that's how much of a good time we had. I have a lot to talk about. Now let's dive into this interview. Today we're joined by Geddis, founder and owner of Avid Bookstore, one of Athens' most beloved independent bookstore. And after nearly 15 years, I opened a newspaper and she's like, I'm closing, I'm done, I'm out, I'm done. She's hosted various events and authors, very diverse people have been to that bookstore. And it's been a beautiful space where people could come and gather and have conversations. So Janet, why don't you just go ahead and reintroduce yourself, tell the people a little bit about you, and how did you get into the bookstore business?
I'm Janet Geddis. I moved to Athens in 2004, what I thought was temporarily to go to grad school, and then I never left because I just fell in love with it here. I am like a lot of people I know, where I've had all these different things I was interested in and couldn't figure out what one job would cover all of those. And so I was trying to figure out how I could work with literacy but not be a literacy coach anymore, and how I could work with students but not be a teacher, and how I could do event planning but not be an event planner, all of these things, and also just what I could do to work around books. And the light bulb went off eventually, and I realized that an independent bookstore was the perfect way to combine all of those strengths while also doing what was most important to me, which is serving the community.
Okay, so I know it's tough because I run a nonprofit. We've been doing it for 10 years, and I could feel it.
Yeah.
I could feel the heaviness at times. And it's something that I love doing, but then it's like, when do I know this is something that is more than just burnout, and that I have to make a decision that, you know, for the best of my health, I might have to step back. So what were the signs for you? How did you come to realize, like, this is more than just a moment? This something is happening and I need to step back?
You know, I think it took me an extremely long time to acknowledge that the burnout was not going to fix itself. It began, honestly, before 2019, but in 2019 was when I decided at the end of that year to close one of my 2 stores at the time and focus on one, and 2020 was going to be the year I just got to chill and relax and kind of regroup and figure out what I wanted to do with the business going forward and reclaim some of my own time. And then, of course, COVID hit, and so I ended up needing or being driven to work harder than I had been when I already was exhausted. So it's been a chronic issue for years, and I've, done things like trying mindfulness and exercising a lot, talking to friends, spending time outside, doing all the things I could to take care of myself, also going to therapy regularly, thanks to Nucci Space help. So I did all these things, and I kept coming to the point where I kept trying to wait to feel like myself again. I had this conception of myself as someone who would just drive until everything got done, and it didn't really matter if I was exhausted or then got a migraine for a week because I had done everything that people were waiting for me to do. I overcommitted to a lot of things, and I think probably the most telling first sign of burnout was just not only feeling sick a lot physically, but realizing that I just repeatedly kept not being able to finish the things that I had committed to doing. And even really small tasks like picking up a phone and texting somebody felt like the heaviest weight I could possibly imagine. And I couldn't even put it into words. And I tried to explain to people and just say, like, I'm so sorry I haven't called you back. I haven't been able to pick up my phone. But you don't want to say that if you're a business owner, because you need to appear competent. And also you have a staff that you're leading. And so those were some of the first signs. But yeah, just continuing to have chronic physical health issues, which of course exist on their own anyway, but just were really exacerbated by my stress. I just felt like I tried everything to try to reinvigorate myself, and I couldn't. And so I think a lot of the work that I did over the last couple years was mental, really amping up the therapy and conversation with friends and having people suggest in a very loving way repeatedly that maybe this wasn't the job that I needed to be doing, at least for now. And I resisted it so much in part because I felt I owed it to the community to keep Avid going. So there's this thing that happens that I know you're familiar with where we have people coming and telling me that my store changed their lives, that an author event we brought to a school was the first time a kid ever had realized that a human being writes books and they got to interact with an author, or maybe they met the first queer author or the first Black author that they had ever seen and it changed their lives. People discovering books that help them get through grief or divorce, buying a new house, everything. We're there for all of these rites of passage. And so when people do lean on you a lot, it feels so good to know that you're helping, but also the burden that it even feels weird to call it a burden, but just the weight, as you worded it, was better. Like the weight of, I can't quit because what are all the people, like the people who have already accomplished things that they dreamt of and are thanking Avid for? What about all the other people that haven't reached that yet? I can't let go. I have to keep doing this for them. And how do you do that when you can't respond to a text? So,
I feel you, because a few years ago when I was running in 2020, then my dad also died that year.
Sorry.
And it happened in short periods of time. It's like we found out he had cancer. 2 weeks later, he passed. And I remember that was in September, and I still had to keep going until November. And then after that, I thought, okay, I'm going to get a break. But then I had to turn back around and get back to the nonprofit work. And so I can relate because you feel like so many people, they need you for something or need the work that you're doing. It's you can see the benefit of the work, but at the same time, it's like dragging me and I'm feeling like, oh my God, I need to go on a sabbatical for like 2 years.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Not even one,
Yeah.
2 years sabbatical.
My sister works for the Athens area homeless shelter, and I've been so proud of her because I think it was maybe already in the works, but she really advocated for herself. She's worked there for over a decade, but like a lot of people that do work within the community and do social work, she was exhausted, and she is starting a sabbatical next week. And it's a new initiative that the shelter or the company nonprofit starting to do, where if you're there at X number of years, you earn a sabbatical. And I'm really proud of her for helping push that forward, because I think it's really, I don't blame nonprofits for not doing that, because it's extremely difficult to figure out how you're going to do that. But I thought that was I think that'll be a cool example, and maybe they can walk other people through how to do that with their organizations. But man, it made me realize how much I want an official sabbatical too.
How long is her sabbatical for?
She actually is doing 8 weeks, but I think the period will be 4. And I think I forget what the increments of time are, but I think it's maybe whatever the increment of time is, X number of years, you get 4 weeks. She's worked 2 of those periods. So she's using 2 sabbaticals in a row, if that makes sense.
That's
So I'm so excited for her.
That sounds like a wonderful thing, man. I wish I could take a sabbatical for a year.
Yeah.
And not a working sabbatical. No, I don't want to work anymore. All right. Many people see entrepreneurship as freedom, but your story highlights the hidden costs. What parts of running an independent bookstore were most draining for you, and what parts kept you going for nearly 15 years? And as you mentioned, it was the people that kept you going for the 15 years. But what are some of the tasks that you experienced that are most draining, and you feel like this is just is not it?
So from day one, anything dealing with sort of the minutia of running the business, I got good at and then fell away from and got terrible at again, which just involves like looking through the inbox every day. I eventually delegated that to other people. I learned to delegate almost everything, but still at the end of the day, if you're the boss, everything falls to you. And so if I had the staff turnover or people that maybe weren't properly trained to do it, then I would find out that I don't know, a certain tax hadn't been paid that month, so I'd have to figure out how to get that covered. So those sorts of things, honestly, so much of it came down to the financial side of things. So even when we were doing really well, it still took a lot of time. And the way that the bookstore world is set up, we joke sort of wryly about how publishing is like 50 to 100 years behind most other industries. And so it would take me as much time to pay a bill for one book as it would to pay a bill for 1,000 books sent to me.
Wow.
So just like that sort of thing drained on me, but I always pulled through because the parts that excited me, which was interacting with my staff, talking with customers, rearranging displays, helping decide what books we were bringing in, pitching event ideas, coming up with like community-wide reading initiatives, all that kind of thing really powered me through. I loved doing interviews and recommending books and going on podcasts and that kind of thing that really fueled my fire. But none of that it didn't seem like any of that was possible unless I got all my ducks in a row. And it just seems like it's already a low margin business, but just like having repeated hits of not being able to do what I wanted to do because I felt really like a slave to capitalism, which I think many of us do.
It's hard to avoid capitalism.
Yeah. And it's hard to vent about it when you know everyone is under the same weight, or not everyone, but most people are under the same weight, and they seem to be making it through. But the more people I talked to, the more people were also admitting that they felt like their heads were underwater and also didn't know what they were doing and were exhausted all the time and didn't feel like they were living the lives they meant to. So
yeah, I feel I was exhausted. I ain't gonna lie. I'm exhausted. I was like a year ago, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, when we went to City Hall and we was advocating for the BIPOC, the Racial Equities Resolution. And after I left City Hall that day, I was just like, I was so mad. And I was like, I'm gonna get out of here. And then I was like, okay, I need to go see a therapist because this work is starting to get to me. So then I started seeing a therapist, and then I went through a 4-week session and I got all the frustration out. And then I came back and I'm like, but I'm still kind of mad. But I worked through it. I'm still here. But what are some advice would you give other business owners that might be feeling this type of pressure? Is it time to walk away? What should they do? Like, what advice would you give?
Well, so a friend of mine who owns a couple bookstores up north, she actually is leaving the bookstore world and is now a therapist. So she got her therapy degree in counseling. But 2 years ago now, I talked to her and said, I don't know what to do. I'm so frustrated. And she said, okay, well, what I do with my clients is talk about how your relationship with work is just like your relationship with a partner. And so she starts walking me through it. She's like, tell me what you love. And I was like, oh, I love this and that and this and that. And then she's like, well, what do you not like? I was like, I dread opening my inbox. I don't know how much work is waiting for me. I love going into the store, but when I go into the store, someone's going to tell me that I have more work to do. And she said, so what you're telling me is that when it's good, it's amazing. And when it's bad, it's really bad and you can't get out of bed. I said, yeah. And she said, what would you say to me? You love me. What would you say if I told you that's how things were with my husband?
Ooh.
And I just thought, oh, and I get chills thinking about it. But I think doing that thought exercise, it's not like that will make you feel better necessarily, but it really hit home that this is a relationship that was not healthy
It's
anymore.
not pouring in and out. It's not an equally type of thing. What they say, they pour in and that type of circular
fill in the cup. I don't know.
Yeah, we're
There's
not filling each other cups.
Yeah.
Okay, so looking back, would you change anything? Would you have changed? Maybe would you have went online? Is there anything that you would have changed or would have done differently?
I have a hard time following that line of thinking because I feel very grateful at any point, even if I'm in a rough spot. I feel glad for where I am. So I think, I could have made little changes here and there. I could have realized that I was burned out before I moved, but moving the store last year gave me so much fuel and energy that I thought I was back. I thought it was me again, And then once we moved, I crashed again and the burnout was still there. So I don't know that there's something I would have changed apart from maybe just trying to be easier on myself and trying to recognize and let go of aspects of the business that I could tell in my soul were not working well anymore, but I wanted them so badly to work that I kept pushing it.
I'm guilty of that.
Yeah,
I
it's
am
hard.
so guilty of that.
But
I'm
also-
holding on to everything,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm getting to the point where we got to let some of these programs go.
Also, yeah, and like, do you wonder ever, like, who are you if you let the Athens anti-discrimination movement not be your thing anymore? Like, will people still know you? And what are you being true to yourself? Are you being true to the community? And that's how I feel about Avid. Like, people just know me through that, which is not true. Or my value is in that I have a bookstore, and other than that, what am I going to do? Also not true. So I think this too is giving me the experience of being able to notice that people care about you, like for your soul and your heart, and people who, whether or not they know you, they want you to take care of yourself. And if you can't overproduce all the time the way you have been, you shouldn't, because that's not sustainable.
That's not normal. That's not normal. What final word or thoughts or advice would you want to give our listeners? Because I know, you have two choices. Either you're going to work for yourself or you're going to work for somebody else. And none of it is easy. So what advice would you give our listeners?
This is hard. I would say, because everybody's work situation is so different. I think it's easy to say, but hard to do. But decide what your hours are going to be every day. And of course, if you're working for someone else, talk it over with the supervisor and say, I will be available via text from 9 until 5. I need to take a lunch hour break every day. I'm not going to be texting or checking text otherwise. What can we plan ahead so that when you have something you need me to do after hours, how can I help you manage that in advance versus you feeling panicked when I don't reply? Like, just sort of modeling for themselves. Also, just going outside and taking walks, honestly. I think a lot of us, as soon as we start getting stressed out, let alone burned out, we start doing the optional things get cut off. So like, I used to do mindful meditation every day. It can be 60 seconds, but like suddenly you don't have time to do that. You don't have time to take a walk. You don't have time to make dinner. So you eat some chips. I mean, speaking for myself, the number of times I've had potato chips for dinner.
I love some sun chips.
I know they're really good. I like original flavor is the best. So that, I think that kind of thing, like make commitments to yourself that you will be taking care of yourself as, not even as well as, but better than you take care of your job, because taking good care of your job will naturally follow if you're taking care of yourself. And I know we overuse that phrase with like putting the oxygen mask on yourself first. I know that's overdone, but it's so true. Like, how can you serve your coworkers? And especially if you have a job that is really important to you, how are you going to show up and be your best self if you're exhausted every day? And by the way, you don't do as good of work if you're on hour 11. You actually do a lot better work if you're well rested. Not that I don't really take that into account a lot, but I'm just saying.
I need a lot of rest right now.
Yeah.
All right, so you've moved to online. Tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so if you need books, avidbookshop.com is our website, and we actually have a partner store called Nest. It's not a partner store of Avid, but we're buddies with them. And so if you order books at avidbookshop.com, you can click a box that says pick up at Nest or in-town pickup, and that way you don't have to pay for any shipping.
That's good.
But also we ship nationwide, including to Athens. So happy to help. Just expect a slower than usual turnaround because I'm just all by myself now. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. All the business owners out there that's listening, burnout is real. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're taking out time to walk, meditate. Some people like meditate. You don't meditate. You better meditate. You better pray. You better pray. You better do something. Works. So stay tuned. We will be right back. I have another guest coming up, and we're going to talk about politics and community. So I will be right back.